Hey guys, and welcome to another Quantum Achievers podcast. And today I've got with me a really special guest who I haven't known that long, but we got along famously and connected straight away, and knew that there was a reason for that. And that reason, of course, is the us all finding our geniusness, what we were designed to be, and who we're designed to be in this time, and how do we contribute and recreate a higher vibrating world so that it thrives. And this is Warren Black, and Warren has had an interesting background. I'll let him explain a lot of it, but he's an accountant, a lawyer, and a financial planner, credited, all those three disciplines, and also someone that I would say is very advanced in his understanding of, uh, let's call it, spiritual awareness. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And if you have an accountant, lawyer, and a financial planner, and you have someone that has a really, really big visionary awareness of the spiritual um, implications of of humanity and the growth that's needed and where we're headed, and how that has a massive impact across the way we live, the institutions that are on the planet at the moment, and the people that are heading up these institutions. Um, Warren, I believe, has got this. I don't know what it is. It's a radiance that tends to um, exude freedom and growth and how to become this highest version of yourself and to build a life around that for your family, and in a very practical, grounded way, but also in a huge um, in a huge understanding from a very high altitude. So, Warren, I want to welcome you to Quantum Achievers. We have lots of great conversations here. We don't like to leave anything on the table. We like to go as woo-woo as you possibly can handle, and we like to integrate it down to how the hell do we bring that to our daily life? And given where we are on Earth at the moment, it's been some pretty interesting times. So I'm going to throw it over to you with a question that I'd like you to answer in whatever way you'd like. Warren, how did you create your reality?
God, the moment I was born. Before I was born, I there's so many layers to that though, isn't there? If you go in quantum, like, there's the whole idea that you create your soul contract before you come. There's a whole idea that when you come, you've already chosen your parents to kind of, due to soul groups, you're due to basically being aligned, that kind of stuff. I mean, ultimately, your whole thoughts and what you believe creates your reality. And of course, the more time goes on, you realize you're creating your reality constantly. Like, I'm pretty much at the point of my life now, Nathan, where it's like, yep, I came here, I created my parents, I created my experiences, I decided to come here and help people with finances and taxes and do spiritual work. No doubt that there's a karmic reason for that from some naughty activities I've done in another lifetimes, dimensions, or galaxies, or whatever else. No doubt I did some good things in other dimensions, galaxies, or Earth, or whatever else. And yeah, I think we're constantly recreating all the time. That's how I see it. So a really good metaphor that was given to me by mentor Nathan is it's like we're a movie projector and the outside world is the film we've created. So if you don't like the film that you're viewing and watching in your daily life, the issue is not the outside world, it's the movie projector within you. And a pastor Yvonne Christensen years ago made a wonderful book she wrote called Lord, Don't Change Them, Change Me. And I remember reading it, and it was basically saying how we create our reality by always seeing that. And I said this to a friend last night. I said to her, I said, if one person is annoying and really bad news in your life, then they probably got a big part to play in it. If there's three people that's happened one after the other with the same situation, the only common denominator is you. So yeah, I think we're creating. So the long answer to your simple question is you're creating it just by your thoughts every day, and I think it's just an ongoing creation kind of thing that's happening all the time, and we're constantly recreating it because we can go back and do timeline therapy and recreate that and change all that, and then we can go forward into the future and change all of that. So I kind of feel like I'm living in a whole holographic reality across many parallel universes right now and across past, present, and future. And that's the only way to describe it. And most of my philosophy of life has been turned inside out the last 2 years.
Yeah. Can I, and I love that answer. And that's why I love asking that question, because it really, how far and deep do you want to go? And we just got a
Oh,
little
yeah,
insight
man.
into how deep Warren is and understanding soul contracts, understanding multiverses, understanding
Well,
time space continuums that may or not be real, and then also understanding karmic laws and so forth. And of course, coming back to changing the film. So, my question to you, Warren, after all the lessons, after all your life experiences, excuse me, how do you change the film?
well, God, I remember doing all these courses and all this kind of stuff. And the Bible was a great starting point for me because I remember I was fortunate and then I ended up, not so much from my own family, but my cousins were involved in a faith healing kind of a church. And they basically, I was taught very early on, there's some great stuff in the Bible, which is about Jesus, said, Yeshua, Jesus, or whatever you call him, said, if you believe something in your heart and don't doubt it will come to pass, it shall. And then, as a man thinketh, so shall he be, it says in the book of Proverbs, written by King Solomon. So, how you change your reality is thinking your thoughts. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because a lot of common stuff like The Secret and the stuff that people know, you go, oh, yeah, I want to change it. Okay, I am this, I am this. But in a way, sometimes that can make it worse because what you've been doing is you're focusing on it for the wrong reason. You're focusing it because still in your imagery of your mind, you're imagining a bad scenario, like I am in perfect health because you had a really bad illness. But then what you're doing by constantly saying it, it's a little bit like if you've got lots of money and you're wealthy, you're not going to walk around going, I'm wealthy, thank God, but I'm wealthy, because you just are. If you basically are really healthy, you're not going to walk around that all the time. And that is why I call it the law of assumption. As someone called Neville Goddard said, you want to get to the point where you're only really using affirmations or statements. I mean, I use them, but more to just remind you in the same way that you would give gratitude every day. Like, let's say that you're super wealthy, your kids are doing amazing. And every day you just wake up and go, oh man, I'm so grateful that my kids are healthy. And I'm so grateful that I've got really fucking good health. And I'm so grateful that this is going on. And I'm so grateful that my finances keep growing every day. And oh, I'm just so glad that my health's getting better. And because you're affirming that, it just keeps happening. And it's why many wealthy families in the Middle East can be living these absolutely fucked up, perverted lives or things like that, or in Australia or anywhere else for the world, just for that matter. But yet your riches keep going up because someone like, say, Kerry Packer's son, James Packer, grew up in a world where he just was used to opulence and that the thought that he could ever not have opulence never crossed his mind. Whereas by contrast, if you grew up in the Philippines, in a really poor, slummy little village where rats basically were chewing away at your ass and at your feet, you're going to be thinking more like that. And so it takes a lot of training. You've got to kind of acknowledge the background you've come from. That's my first thing. And then it's kind of about coming into a state of assumption. And I'll give you an example to practically show you. Like I remember getting really bad arthritic symptoms or arthritis hitting me years ago, and I was getting it was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. And I was doing all kinds of stuff. And I remember something that I asked a spiritual teacher I work with. I said, how do I fix my issue of arthritis? And he looked at me and goes, issue? He goes, sounds to me like you've already claimed it. And I was
Mm.
like, oh. And so what I started doing from that point on was just slowly changing my affirmation, but more just waking up in the morning going, you know what? I just give thanks. This is all working out. It's getting better. It's kind of like when you got a flu. Like, let's say you got the flu. You don't think they're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got the flu forever. You go, oh, I'll get better. It's getting better. I don't know how long, but it will get better. And then it does. But for some reason, we stop applying that to things like, because the medical profession says something like, oh, yeah, once you've injured your disc, you're screwed. Or once you've got arthritis, it's permanent or whatever. So you just kind of go, well, whatever. I mean, these guys are kind of ignorant. They don't know the higher teachings of Christ or even quantum science. Because what I'm saying is not just the Bible or not just The Secret now. It's backed up by quantum physics, by Dr. Amit Goswami, things like that. So that's all I started doing, just every day going, yeah, no, I'm getting better and better. I know it's sorting itself out. This is all part of a cleansing and transformation in me. And then after a few days of doing that, I started getting a sense I need to do some yoga or something. So I ended up meeting someone doing that. And then I got this weird sense to change my diet for a time. So I ended up going on a juice fast for 21 days, which was awful. But then imagine that, drinking bloody juice for 21 days. And then after that, I changed my diet and I gradually, it got better. And then after 3 months, I thought, oh, yeah, my fingers are fine now. And it just got better. And I found the same with money. When I was going around doing all kinds of wealth and prosperity affirmations all the time, if anything, it complicated things. Whereas when I started just saying things like, yeah, I'm born wealthy. I mean, the fact that I live in Australia and I've got a house and I can sit here on a computer and I can eat what I want every day, and that my biggest challenges are what I eat and what things I do for the day, and the fact that I can travel like I did and met you a few weeks ago, and the fact that I can do this, that puts me ahead of 95% of the population. And then I've got a business of my own. In fact, I've got two. I've got this investments, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with myself. And I mean, if I want to sit there and compare myself to, say, Kerry Packer or the 10 richest people in Australia, yeah, sure. You know, if you're a basketballer trying to be as good as Michael Jordan, and that made you, you know, define your self-worth, you feel pretty shit most of all the time. But basically, yeah. So then you just start acknowledging what you've already got and just giving thanks is going to keep increasing, because it's like a universal law that you tend to get more of what you've already got. So if you've already got wealth, like an example, and a simple example of that is that let's just say that you want to invest, say, $100,000. You've got a choice between someone who's got no money and they're trying to make a lot of money. You've got a great scheme, and then you've got someone who's made tens of millions of dollars, basically, and everything he touches investing. You know, the socialists might say, "Oh no, give it to the person less fortunate and help them to get started with you." Whereas you're going to go, "Well, actually, I'll put it with the guy who's made 100 million, and he's consistently made 20% per annum proven." Because that person's likely to continue his replicate his law. So the more you get success, the more confident you get. And the more confident you get, the more success you get. It's just getting that whole thing started. And in areas of your life where it's more deficient, you start applying it. So for me, I was very good at applying it in my health. I was very good at applying it in my finances to a certain degree. Like as an example with finances, I was very good at applying it to growing my income. But when it came to growing my wealth, for some reason, I had a bit of a block, and that was just my upbringing and a few other things. And so I started giving thanks that as I increased my wealth, I can help more people, I can have more stability. And I found things that made me feel good when I would say that. And gradually you train yourself into an assumptive state. And in fact, I love what Neville Goddard says. He says, if you continue, he said, people say just be yourself. He said, if you keep being yourself, you'll keep being the same idiot you were previously, and you'll keep getting the same stupid results. So if you being yourself means you're toxic, you're a narcissist in relationships, that you drink alcohol all day long, you're going to keep getting the same results. So you want to create better versions of yourself, and you want to do it in a sustainable way. So that's kind of how I do it. I just go, okay, let's just create this in a sustainable way. Like right now, my body's overall pretty good because I do Pilates, I do dancing, I do walking, I eat relatively well. And in fact, and I've just been, and I'm noticing that I keep talking about like that. I assume I'm looking good and feeling good. And then things just tend to come to me without me even looking for them now. Like someone today was sharing some stuff with me and showing me ways to get even better results for anti-aging. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And then I just got this sense to start doing some HIIT workouts to improve my metabolism. And then that was confirmed the other day. And so it just starts coming to you, and it becomes like an avalanche and avalanche. And I think the biggest reason that people's reality continues to be the same is lack of consistency and not being able to stay in an assumptive state. You know, like something happens, like you find out your partner's cheating on you and you go, oh, and then you make up a story about yourself. And that creates a chain of thoughts and consequences that end up taking you into a different reality than you were previously creating for yourself. And I would go even further. I mean, I've learned one thing. I think we've sometimes in our quest to deal with past trauma, we go back into old patterns that we've kind of walked away from. And the Bible talks about, you know, a dog going back to his vomit. And I've been finding that, like, literally, this is kind of quite funny. I did all kinds of stuff to clear things on issues with my mother and my upbringing. And I remember some months ago, I go, hang on a sec. how old am I now? And I thought, yes, this is my age. I thought, am I still in my childhood? No. Am I still living in that same strep as I was then? No. Am I still under my mum's thumb and my father's thumb? No. Okay. So do I want to stay in that? No. Do I have any issues with my mum and dad? Dad? No, not really. We didn't have much emotional connection, but he was a good father. He provided for me. Yeah, I'm cool with him. Okay. Do I want to hold any more grudges anymore? No. Okay. Mum, was she a good mum? Not really. Do I like her now? Yeah. Do I think she's a pretty cool person overall? Yeah. Is she, do I still need a mother in my life? No. Can I move on and forgive and just live a normal life and not let it define me? Yeah. Okay. And I think I cleared more trauma in about 1 hour of doing that than I've done in numerous courses. So I think reframing is a kind of, you got to activate your cognitive brain, and then you got to feel what you're saying, and then and you got to keep working on what you're saying until you can feel it. Because if you don't feel it, your feelings will always win out. So that's probably my little tips on that with framing. You've got to use your mind, but you've got to make sure you're feeling it. So, for example, if for you going around saying, I'm a wealthy trader, you don't feel good, you feel like you're lying, you go, okay, well, I'm in the process of becoming a wealthy trader. It's really good, just like I'm a uni student and I'm in the process of getting a law degree. So I'm now in the process of becoming so you might say, I'm in the process of becoming a better podcaster, and I'm continuing to grow. And you could be 95 years of age, sitting there sucking gummies all day, and you're still going to be learning.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned the
That's a
Bible.
long-winded answer. So if you need me to quieten down, just let me know.
Absolutely not. No, I loved every part of it. Um, no, I think that it resonates deeply. Like people want to move forward, but there are those two voices. We've got this voice of you do hear the secret, and people are visualizing things, and then there's really that unconscious mind that's actually saying, actually, no, we want to avoid that completely. Like you said, there's a young inner child who's still living out, avoidance programs deeply inside your psyche. And so by living in this assumptive state and saying in a sustainable way, which I picked up in your wording, you're saying, if I can just, you know what, I'm improving. I'm a uni student turning into a lawyer. I'm on my way. I'm on the way to becoming, a very fantastic trader, except on these financial markets, etc. And that assumptive position that you're taking. But you mentioned the Bible a number of times, and you mentioned Yeshua. And I'd like to ask you a question, and I don't know where it's going to take us, but I kind of feel that I enjoy um, not knowing.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this. Yeshua was doing some pretty cool stuff, right? He was
yeah,
raising people from the dead, walking on water, things that were defying what I'll call Newtonian physics, and defying our idea of who we are as a species. And because we've got these set ideas of who we are as a species, let's just put it, I think it's manifested in a whole lot of institutions that are coming from a place that is not of the highest frequency of the possible timelines for humanity. So I ask you this because it's all an individual question. If it's in the film and we're going to change the film, where are you not free to operate as Yeshua did on the planet in your body now?
me.
Yeah, you.
So where am I not free in my body?
Where are you not free in your consciousness to operate as Yeshua did? Like I
God,
said, I have no idea where this question is going to take us, Warren, but I went, you're the kind of guy that I like to ponder deep things with. And
well, man, you could have asked me a tongue twister. Okay, let me think. Yeah, basically, yeah, I think that one of my, probably the biggest one is that the thing that just came to mind, so I'll say it, is Yeshua moving in the power of the cities. Like in the Matrix, Neo, when he was shown the city powers, when I say city, SIDDHI, like
yeah.
miracle workers, there's a kid who's moving a spoon and bending a spoon. And Neo is staring like, how do you do that? And he goes, there is no spoon. And that's a very profound quantum physics statement. Like right now, everything that seems solid is liquid and air, and everything that's air. And we know that because on television, like even right now, is proof of that concept. Like you're seeing me right now, but you're seeing me more in a light vibration form. So I've sat here, the camera takes my physical energy field and bilocates it over. And so I'm effectively now multidimensional bilocated, we could have 100 people watching me at the same time. So my light body is being bilocated. And the only thing for me is where I'm not free right now is, to really, the first thing that came to me was this body limits me from teleporting at the moment because of my belief system that my body is confining me. Whereas in actual fact, Yeshua was able to teleport. He was able to turn invisible because he was able to walk on water. Because as a Buddhist monk once said to Dr. Adrian Clark when he was trying to find out how the guy could levitate in mid-air in lotus position, the Buddhist monk just said to him, the only difference of you and me is you see air, I see a solid block. And in other words, he was able to do that. So that's my limit in that I've been able to do a lot of miracles in my time. I've healed myself of many things. I've healed people of stuff. I've done miraculous things in finances. I've run courses where people have literally had debts disappear and the bank just ringing them without them even applying, removing their debt. We've seen all kinds of stuff. And so for me, it's just,
I think I'd like to have that one. I think there might be a number of people would like that miracle too.
oh yeah, no, I've met guys. I met a guy who hasn't eaten food for 25 years. He's lived on water, like just by transmuting that. I've met the same guy was in huge debt and he manifested financial freedom in a month using energy. Sai Baba was able to create gold like right in front of people. I met a prophet who was able to just manifest money. He would ask for guidance and be shown on the share market and things like that. So for me, the limitations is really the fullness of those city powers to manifest money on will, be able to teleport, to bilocate, to be able to heal quantum at will and move into physical. So take everything energetic and move it into the physical instantly. And I've kind of been doing that lately with health. I've been doing things like going and getting a checkup on a energy frequency machine, and showed I was way out on one thing. And I just said, let me do some quantum work on myself. And I did for like literally 10 seconds. And I tested doing a 10-second ritual to a 1-minute ritual to a 2-minute, and all three of them on different times healed me instantly without much any things. So that's my biggest limitations. I think I'm just scratching the surface. I don't even think I'm close, because I think we can make everything disappear, from taxes to wealth increase to debt disappearance, because it's all just a matrix illusion. To be able to instantly heal, to teleport, to shapeshift, I reckon we're just not. I kind of feel like I can see it, I know it, and I'm like, next step, next step, next step, next step, next step.
Let me ask you this, because this is why you and I straight away just bonded, because we come from the same paradigm. As you know, I had a journey with DMT 2009 that exploded me into the quantum realm, and I couldn't return for many years. So for me, it's been about integrating and reconciling. So my question to you is, COVID we just had recently worldwide. How do we reconcile that against where we're not free to operate as Joshua?
You mean what happened in COVID?
Well, I'm just saying, how do you reconcile the global event COVID
Yep.
and our ability, or our way to remove where we're not free to operate at the city level? How are the two?
Well,
Are the two related, or are they not?
look, absolutely, it's an exceptional question. Because what happened in COVID, the lockdowns was a kind of way of locking everyone down. So your physical body effectively and your physical surroundings were knocked out of balance. And what that now meant was you were forced to reflect, forced to go to lockdown. And I think many people missed the lesson of that. Like for me, the moment it happened, I thought, okay, it's a lockdown, because in ancient times they would lock down civilizations for a period of time to do religious festivals and prayer and reflection. And in many cities of the world that had major pollution problems, the lockdowns actually fixed up a lot of the problems of the atmosphere, and there was all kinds of stuff on that. So COVID was a kind of way of a reset, is a bit of a reflection. It gave everyone an opportunity to go inward. That's how I saw it. And it gave an opportunity for everyone to clean up their act. In fact, on YouTube, there's a video which I've done on the Awakening Within, Nathan, where I share about my 2018 vision where I was taken into higher realms for many days, and I was told about the vaccine crap that was going to happen back in 2018. I was shown a series of events from that to a frequency attacks to lockdowns around airports and places to eventually, resetting financial systems and trying to microchip people and silly crap like that. But what I actually was told very interestingly was this is all part of stopping the insanity going on in your planet. That's what I was basically told, because your planet has completely lost its fucking mind. And we know that. Like we see, I mean, the kind of stuff in the woke movement going on right now, the corruption, most of the time we just expect someone to try to swindle us and we're on guard. It's just turned into a dog eats dog. And I think COVID was a reset. And anyone that's kind of on that city things, it kind of gets you to go inward, to start awakening more of those powers and things like that. And that's what happened with me. So it was a great opportunity to, go inward, to really start cleaning yourself up. I think there's far more to come. I think there's a COVID phase 2, which is about getting people's wealth. I think that's coming next. I think there's all kinds of stuff. And it's all about getting us away from our reliance on the material external. I think the end result myself is going to actually be, I remember reading the Mayans' teachings and various others, and they predicted, one guy I met said by about 2050 in the world, we'd be energy work and teleporting, and that would be starting to happen. And I think we're preparing for the age of the kind of a different consciousness, spiritual awakening. That's my honest feeling. And I think COVID and everything happening this decade is about killing our reliance on external things. That's kind of my. Does that answer your question at all?
Absolutely. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, how do you reconcile where we're not free to become
Yeah.
conscious
Yes,
of,
it's getting
of
our
Christ
consciousness free.
mass?
Yes, because the only possible way you could cope with what's going on in the world right now is to go inward and get free inwardly, because outwardly there's not much to be excited by. And there really isn't. Like, you look at what's going on. And yeah, people could say there's opportunities, but honestly, with the wars pending and the things happening, it's a fairly bleak outlook overall for a lot of stuff. For me, my positive outlook for the future is more because of what I'm seeing inwardly and seeing the opportunity for growth and expansion and bringing change in society, through all of this. But that's how I see it.
I actually completely resonate with that. And like people, the outlook is bleak. However, depends on how much work you have done on your inner world is actually the timeline that you'll be on. And so,
Yes.
you know, some people experience COVID in a very dark place, under extreme circumstances. Melbourne copped it like there was no tomorrow. Um, and I had a little bit of that, but then bought a farm in the Byron Bay area and said, see you later, different timelines. And what I'm realizing is that the most important work for us to do right now, to use your analogy, is to change the film.
Yep.
And you know, the ways in which we do this, I think, are expanding and growing as various people who have been in that little crucified state are becoming freer to reach the cities, which is a state of consciousness where we transcend our idea of reality, where we can reverse gravity, where we can reverse time, where we can play
Yes.
with the concepts of euphorium is built on a quantum paradigm, which is don't try to work it out, talk to your future version of you and extract it like a transfusion. So we do a lot of quantum integration work. That's what we're doing. We're integrating that higher city state into our current beings. But this is one of the things I wanted to ask you. When you step into, let's just say, a software that you're haven't, it's like I don't know, maybe it's someone gets lucky, like winning the lotto, right? They didn't earn the wealth programming that allowed them to manifest that. It was given to them. So most of the time they lose it, right? So when you start playing with a future version of yourself,
Yeah.
and taking action on on what's possible, let's just say these city states. If we're reaching a certain uh, vibrational ability by 2050, and like, how are we going to get there when we bring in, like, what suffering do we need? What next COVIDs, what's this do we need that's going to line up? And then how do we navigate a higher timeline through this massive transition and live really quite freely and enjoy this beautiful process that we manifested. Like we said, when I first question is, how did you create your reality? You're saying, well, I asked for the parents, I asked for the cousins and the siblings and the partners. Well, my belief is we also ask for this time. We ask for this specific transition. Well, I call it the metamorphosis tadpole to the frog. We're going from a three-dimensional human that is, in a vortex of suffering, based upon a lack of understanding of who we are, into a frog that can be in the water and on the land. We're multidimensional, but we're also grounded here. So
Yes.
what needs to happen if the outcome is for us to get to a human ability by 2050? What, if you were God, would you throw on the table down here on planet Earth that we all ask for? And then how do you navigate through it financially? Let's start with that question, financially and timelines.
God, it's
Just a
you,
couple of quick questions here, Warren.
yeah, you and your little questions. You're on a bit of a jaunt here, aren't you?
Yeah, I was smoking a
Well,
joint just before this, so I'm pretty high. And no, I'm kidding. But
um,
yeah.
look, there's an old saying, "Calm as a bitch," and one of the things I've learned. This is one of the reasons I don't have the problems of the Bible a lot of people have. I've read the Bible, I've read the Bhagavad Gita, the Taoist teaching, all the different books. I used to think the Mormons were evil, and then I read their books. And I thought, fuck, Joseph Smith's actually pretty cool. He's written some good stuff. The Bible kind of reflects a lot of the raw realities of that. Like, you know, we have this kind of a lot of the spiritual teachings today are absolute false spirit guide bullshit, excuse the French. Like love and light, and you shall experience that and that. And it's just crap. Like you look at people who get that, they tend to get the opposite. And Dr. John D. Martini in his quantum teaching says that you show a society where they protect kids from ever being hit, and those kids will often be the ones who get bullied or beaten up. In other words, when we the point is that we basically like look at Singapore. Like Singapore cracked down in terms of stricter laws, and it's one of the freest countries from crime and things like that because people know that and appreciate that kind of strictness. So I basically there's a scripture in the Bible in the book of Proverbs, which is an amazing book. King Solomon the Great, and basically he says. And I was only going to quote from two verses, and we're going to quote from six because there's four of my favorite. Let's have to throw it in there. But verses 5 to 8 was my life mantra as a young man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In other words, don't try and work it all out, basically. So trust in the Lord, the higher powers, the higher consciousness, Yeshua, just in the guidance. Don't rely on your own understanding. Use it, but don't make that your main thing. Make that higher inner voice guiding you. In all your ways, acknowledge him, it says, which isn't quite a correct translation. It actually means make the higher ways your own ways. In other words, embrace the higher ways and assume that state of mind and being, and he shall direct your paths and straighten them. In other words, bring you on an aligned path. And then it goes on to say, be not wise in your own eyes. In other words, don't be a big egotistical smartass. Fear the Lord and shun evil. In other words, be respectful of the higher consciousness and realize at the end of the day, we can sit here giving all of our little loosey-goosey arguments, and God or that kind of higher consciousness is an absolute fucking asshole. It really is. Like, if it's calm as a bitch, like, it's not going to go, oh, Nathan's a nice guy. We won't give him cancer. No, if you break laws of health, you'll get cancer, and be like, how the fuck do they get cancer? Or Mrs. Mavis, who sits there and looks after people and does lovely little things and gives food parcels, may be broke as fuck because she ain't following the laws of money. And that's why he says, fear the Lord and shun evil. It shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones. And that particular passage I use a lot to speak health to my navel, marrow. In other words, when I follow the higher law, when I'm ill, I'm like, fuck, I've violated higher laws. If financially I'm in issues, I'm like, fuck, I've violated higher laws. And it says here, honor the Lord with your substance. In other words, with your money, with your wealth, and then you shall be filled with plenty, and you shall burst out with abundance and wine. In other words, you will not lack for anything when you honor the higher laws, and when even with your money you invest with wisdom. You're a generous philanthropist, but also, not just giving all your money away and leaving yourself with nothing, but at the same time, not just buying up yachts, doing vaccine experiments, and basically, going out and hiring a hooker fest and giving nothing away. Basically, not that anyone would ever do vaccine experiments, but like live in balance, basically honor the Lord, give money away to do good, and then follow the laws of wealth. But then it goes on to say, and this is where I was leading to, my son, do not despise the discipline and the chastening of the Lord, nor get weary of the correction and discipline. For whom the Lord loves, he corrects, as a father the son in whom he delights. Now, what that's basically saying in plain English is when God beats the shit out of you and absolutely fucks you over and over and over again, just realize that the whole point is to get you to that state of consciousness and to clean you up and not stop. Because it's like if you start a parasite cleanse and don't quite finish it, and then the buggers are still churning away in your system, you're going to go, oh, fuck, and then go through and do it again. And so it basically suggests that God or spirit is a side of God or spirit that we don't like to acknowledge that really roasts our ass. And if it's a society, we're continuing to be naughty. And if you think about the way we behave, it's amazing we haven't been blown up and annihilated and a whole new planet's created. But there's kind of, but it's not the case. And so I think that the long-winded answer to what your question is I think God will do whatever's necessary to bring us to that point. And I think it comes down to the more we fight, and believe me, you're talking to a bit of a resistor. The more we fight, the harder it tends to be. Whereas Buddha made a really good statement once. Buddha said about suffering, that says the only reason we suffer is because of the things we're attached to. When attachment goes, we suffer no more. So in other words, if you don't give a shit whether you live or die, the fear of death isn't a big issue for you. Like for me, that doesn't really bother me. Whereas the fear of torture, yeah, that part doesn't appeal quite so good to me. So, but the fear of death, if someone put a gun to my head and said, you must do this and give all this up, or I'm going to shoot you, I go, yeah, fucking shoot me, you dick, you know? In other words, it wouldn't bother me now. And so a lot of what we're learning on this earth is to kind of, it's like a big Hunger Games. We're chucked in here and we obviously signed up for it somewhere. And we get the opportunity to keep shifting, to keep growing, to keep shifting, to be going through shit. And what makes it challenging is you've got 8 fucking billion people on this planet, or whatever it is. And all of us, there's got to be some events happening that's going to make sure that everyone gets their walloping, you know? And so, yeah, I think we're going to go through a bit. That's my feeling, because when I look at the state of the planet, COVID was a pretty tough time, and a lot of people just go, fuck that, and kept going on as normal. Some people have been awakening, but yeah, I think there's more to go, because if I was God, I'd do whatever it took. I'd be like, okay, if we're going to wake people up, I'll do whatever it takes, but I've got to give people respite. So it's like a kid who's wayward. You spank them, you reward them. Spank them, reward them. Spank them, reward them, you know, or whatever, like that kind of thing. So, you know, we get our asses kicked, and then there's a period when, oh yeah, things are improving, and you think maybe I'm doing really well for myself, and then another whack happens, and then you do that. And I think that it keeps going until you can, you know, to me, if I can get to the point where I realize my body's an illusion and I'm teleporting and you're doing a podcast, next minute I'm sitting next to you physically going, hey, bro, and shock the fuck out of you, and then manifesting money, and I can turn into light and lead the planet, that's when I've done everything on this planet I need to do, you know? Until then, I'm still basically learning. But yeah, look, I think we're going into a big consciousness shift. It's happening right now. I think it's already happening. And I think a lot of the external that we see is going to be knocked out of balance. I mean, the book of Haggai talks about where it says God will shake heaven and earth with all kinds of stuff. And then the King of Glory will come, the desire of nations will come. In other words, the manifestation of the Christ. And I personally believe the second coming of Christ is more going to be the awakening of the Christ in the masses. Like the first Christ was the one. The second Christ is the manifestation of the Christ in the many. And we get that from Romans with the manifestation of the sons of God. And the fact that Christ said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Not in the Catholic Church with a Pope, not in your pastor, not in going to Dalai Lama, you know, not in even going to hear Warren Buffett and Nathan King. It's the kingdom of God that's within you. And we just kind of guide you to that place, back to your inward center. That's kind of how I see it. So yeah, I think we're going to go through a truckload of shit. But I think the way to handle it is that if you know you are, you'll be okay with it.
Yes, and that's my question to you, because there's a couple of questions I've got, but stating here that as the world, the collective goes through its shit, if you are yielding to the Father, to Yeshua, to spirit, whatever it may be, and you're learning your lessons and you're not coming from the egoic infrastructure and you are adhering to the laws of health, wealth, and life itself, let's just put it, are you immune to the collective story?
God, I'd love to think so. Look, to a degree, yes. I think, look, this is how I see it, okay? So imagine that right now, you and I are going into, I don't know, some country in the Middle East or somewhere, and we go into a chemical camp where it's really chemical and there's lepers everywhere, okay? Now, that's going to be fucking hard to not get contaminated. I mean, you're smelling like petrol, refinery, titanium, then you've got lepers all over the place. And that's why one of the greatest sufferings can be being the only healthy person in a leper's colony. It'd be a fucking nightmare, you know? And the temptation would be at least you become a leper, you know, you can kind of you can fit in. So basically, it's difficult. When you're in a toxic environment, it's very difficult not to be. And it's kind of like the way I put it is imagine if for the next 6 weeks you decided you wouldn't have a single bath or shower. Do you think your wife would start to maybe not be quite as happy with you as she is right this current second? She'd be like, get out of the fucking place. You smell
Go and have a
like
shower, buddy. Yeah.
you have a shower.
Yes.
But we do that with our energy. And I thought I was doing okay, but then I realized I hadn't done a proper etheric clearing and karmic clearing of myself for weeks. So for myself and William, who's my shaman who works with me, you know, my son and that, and we run our awakening within, he and I, 2 hours later, we sat there staring at each other going, holy mother of God, no wonder we've been feeling the collective consciousness because we just hadn't been clearing it properly. So it's kind of like having a bath every day. When I'm in a really good state, I am clearing myself every single day, morning and sometimes at night. So it's kind of like you got to give yourself a spiritual, etheric, auric shower because your aura, your etheric body gets polluted so quickly. So the short answer, it's possible to be immune, but it's a little bit like it's possible to stay in good health, but you've got to be disciplined about it. You know, if you basically, and the older you get, you just lay in bed all day and did nothing, your muscles will atrophy, your health will drop down, and things like that. And so, yeah, no, look, I think it's possible to be immune, but you've really got to be conscious of it, mindful of it, and knowing how to keep yourself clean, and even having shamans you're accountable to, that you're paying and you're investing, because it's very important you invest in the shamans you're working with, to keep you clean. And that's one of the things we do. Like my son William, he works on people to keep them clean, and we run things to do with that, and then we do it on ourselves. So it's possible, but you've really got to think of it like having a shower every day, and then every now and again you go to a day spa and you have a full scrub and a mask and a, you know, an exfoliation process, and then you get your nails clipped, and then you get stuff like that. So but every now and again you got to go and do that, and then but every day you got to have a bath. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, you spoke about the laws of wealth, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of your work has been on this basis. And I think uh, uh, as we look forward through the changes that we're going to go through,
Yeah.
where certain economic situations may occur, institutions may fall, things like this. What are the laws that are universal that'll, like, if you could share from your perspective, what are some of the universal laws that if people could just go, okay, here's the 5 top laws of wealth, for example, that if they stuck to these pillars would be a great way to
Oh,
start their
lovely.
journey.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've got a Laws of Wealth series in our, you know, Ignite Your Financial Plan B on Global Wealth Club, and we do have a manifestation teaching on Awakening Within, which covers that. I'm just trying to think. Okay, so I think one of my rules is always pay yourself first. That's the number one thing. So first and foremost, because the Bible teaches about tithe, honoring the tithe, and the first tithe, if the kingdom of God is within you, the first tithe is to yourself. Okay, that's the first tithe. So in other words, always making sure that you're valuing yourself. And I always say, if someone's got financial problems or not growing wealth, I said, look, there's certain number one, I can tell you 100% of the time, I've noticed the following. Number one, they don't pay themselves first. They might get their money coming and go, oh, shit, I owe the tax office this, and oh, I've got to pay the bank, and I owe my ex-wife child support, or I've got to pay this for this. They're thinking of everyone else around them. So they're dissipating their energy as well as their money, because money is just energy. I mean, once upon a time, money was sticks, tally sticks. Money could be anything. We could literally go and just get like pebbles and then get them grafted. It doesn't really matter. But so thinking of it as energy, the first thing is to tithe and pay yourself and reward yourself first. So really reward yourself. Make sure, and then number two, make sure that some of that reward is for the now and some is for the future. And have the now, the future, and the past in balance. That's my second rule. So what I mean by that is you want to save for the future, enjoy the now, and resolve any sins of the past. So if you owe money from the past, or you've got people that you've wronged or whatever, get that right, clean up your act, make sure that's fixed up so you don't basically have a karmic, ass carrot up your ass in the future. Then make sure in the now you enjoy it. There's no point saving up money and being a miser for the future if you don't enjoy it for the now. So if you like make $1 million on crypto, then yeah, fucking do something fun. Go and book a penthouse suite and go and organize a great trip, or buy yourself a really nice villa in somewhere. But then make sure you put some aside for the future, and then put some aside for that. The third one is making sure that you've got the balance of philanthropy as well. That's probably a third one. So this is where the tithing, the Bible talks about the tithing to help the less fortunate, like something where you're giving in some way to the community, whether it's in the form of being a church or spiritual teacher, giving money to help the less fortunate, setting up philanthropy. That's why many wealthy end up doing that. Making sure that you're contributing to the community and giving back with your wealth, that you're not just basically a narcissistic prick who's just basically doing vaccine experiments and not that anyone would do that, and then basically running fake pandemics with your money, or not that anyone would do that, and then basically, you probably noticed my dark humor, but yeah, been basically buying yachts like crazy, and then buying 20 women and having a harem or whatever. I'm not saying you can't. If you're a billionaire and you're philanthropy and you want to do a few crazy things, I say go ahead and do it. But just making sure you have that balance. That's probably the third one. The fourth one would be more about cash flow and income as energy, finding a way to solve a problem. That's probably another one. Like really, really solving a problem in some way. So the more problems you can solve, the more money you make. Like in fairness to Bill Gates, he became a billionaire not by being a very good doctor, basically, even though he's obviously Dr. Gates and got wonderful, helped the world a lot. But our friend dear old Dr. Gates made his money basically by actually doing a really good job with computers. And I'm on a Microsoft computer. I fucking love it. I like Gates's computers. I think they're really good. I prefer them to Apple myself. Then Elon Musk, I mean, he's done a lot of stuff to solve. So, in other words, if you solve a problem for a few people, you'll make a small amount of money. If you solve a problem for a decent group, you'll make a decent amount of money. If you solve for a lot of people, you'll make a lot of money. If you solve world problems, you'll make worldwide wealth. That's basically the fourth law. In other words, solving a problem and always coming from a place of service in the money that you're making. And the fifth one is knowing how to manage your expenses and live within your means, and and having that balance, so to speak. So in other words, if your income doubles, yeah, you can double your expenses a little bit, and double your savings, double everything. So managing your expenses and living within your means. Where if you're basically making fuck all money, don't go and buy the newest sports car and things like that, and go and do something else. Yeah, so basically living within your means. So they're probably my 5 laws.
Let me ask you just, and we'll probably wrap it up after this because we don't want to go on forever. Although I feel like I could with you, to be honest.
Oh, we can always do another one.
I think we'll have to. There's more questions I want to extract out of you. I know a lot of people feeling a need, like with this big shift, this big change that's happening. I'll call it the genes are mutating to where we need to get to by 2050. And a lot of people are feeling a pull towards service-based businesses, or call it purpose-based businesses. Okay.
Yes.
Now, from your experience of, there'd be people listening going, listen, I'm called to give of service to people through coaching, through mentoring, through making meals for people, and it feels very godly infused. How do they reconcile against commercial laws, realities of making money and bringing balance in a purpose-given life?
You mean like doing a coaching business, but it's not making enough money to live on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that live in that field. How do you speak to that?
I love what a mentor said. You probably know some pretty straight, Nathan. I more say, I mean, look, my little dark side. I'd love to sit there and say, look, I'm Warren Black. I am this guy with a vision to serve the world and help people. That's what drives. Look, I do love serving and helping people, but honestly, as I said to someone, if a really hot Saudi Arabian princess came to me and wanted me to be her trophy husband, and I could literally live off her tab and just do whatever the fuck I wanted, I probably would want to do it, and I probably would do it. I don't know how long that'd last. I think all of us have this fantasy, or if I was paid to sit there all day and have beautiful ladies massage me and have people worship me and be a guru cult leader, fuck, I probably would do it, because I mean, it can be bloody hard work sitting there doing podcasts and doing all that kind of stuff. And I go through these cycles every now and again where the reprobate Warren just jumps his head, or what I call the fantasy Warren. Warren who just likes to daydream, and it's kind of like the guy who watches porn and thinks he's got a girlfriend now. It's that kind of thing. And it's and thinks that now, but I know how to do that. I've got a girlfriend. Whereas it's all very different. Like once you've got a girlfriend, you got responsibility, and once you've got a wife, you got responsibility. And I think most people forget that. Like we go, oh, I've got a wife, but I kind of wouldn't mind having a youngie on the side. So I don't know, I'll go and get someone, not tell her about it, and hopefully she won't find out. And then, of course, there's all kinds of repercussions. They feel their inward guilt and they kind of know it, or they don't feel the guilt and they're a complete sociopath, and then muck them up. And then the wife finds out, she gets hurt, she gets broken, stops trusting, and then everyone suffers from it, And I had this, young friend of mine actually asked me with his girlfriend, he said he's thinking of having one on the side because he's frustrated being exclusive. And he said, what do you think? I said, just don't do it, bro. I said, you either let her know you want to have a few and have a little bit of a harem, and it's fine if you want that, and just know that she'll probably leave you. But I said, don't do that, because if she finds out, it'll break her, as well as the fact you'll be eating guilt, it'll break your fucking heart, man. It'll break her heart, and then she won't trust guys in the future, and all society gets fucked up from doing it. So basically, and what was your question again? I've totally gone off on a rant. What was it again?
I said, if someone is feeling in their heart to be of service,
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I know I'm
how do
going.
they reconcile their
Yep.
finances against that?
Yeah. So in other words, you've got to get that balance between living a dream and getting into a fantasy. It's a big difference. Like, for example, look, I would love to be trading Forex and cryptos and making ridiculous amounts of money like my clients make, some of my clients make. And every now and again, I'll fall into that fantasy, but I realize I don't have the patience to do what they do. It kind of gets frustrating. I just do better if I focus on, on certain things and then basically just doing hodling. And one of what I call my painful delusionals I had to let go of was I kind of created this delusion. I don't like admin. I'm not very good at it. But the truth is I am good at admin. I'm actually really fucking good at it. I'm good at organizing things with business and finances. And a fantasy Warren does not want to fucking do that. I don't, I at one stage I had like the idea of being some spiritual life coach. I think I went through a little bit of a crazy fat of that. But at the end of the day, it's you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing feels good and it's making you money. Now, it's one thing if you're doing something like that. Like years ago, I walked away from a law firm that was doing really well, shut the whole thing down because everything in my soul knew that my path had changed. I could feel it. I knew that my next path was to do online education, to do finances in that field. I didn't know how it would work out, and I shut myself for many months, but I just knew it would somehow work out, and it did. But that was from an inward conviction to do that. So the thing is, if someone's got a dream, you might go, okay, let's move towards that dream. Like I remember when I had a dream to go into online education more, I didn't just shut my law firm down that same day. I go, okay, let's just do it over a 12-month period, shut this law firm down bit by bit, close it down. And that will give me some space to start putting things in place. And, I started to put things in place. I started getting more involved in in networking groups and podcasting groups and that. And then after about 18 months, I had a pretty good online webinar business that was really going nicely, and I was moving forward like nothing had happened, and doing better than I'd ever done before with more freedom. So the point is, if someone's got this kind of dream to do that, you still got to find a way to fund it, unless you really have what I call the faith of Yeshua. And I've met people like that who just go ahead and do it and just know the money will come. Because the truth is, it always will. It just will. But most of us, if we're running out of money and we're seeing it, it starts to stress us a little bit, So I think I would say to people like that, follow your dream, but be grounded at the same time. So for me, I've got a real dream to do more and more city work than ever before. But I've noticed that, and I'm moving slowly into that. But right now, in terms of where I'm at and where people are at, people are still requiring guidance around finances, around structuring, around that kind of thing. So I still do that. And I find that, and what I've done is I've learned to reframe that work to make it align with my higher values. So I generally now, I'm more focused on taking clients who are awake and who want to make a difference with their finances. So a lot of my clients, I'm setting up foundations now. We're doing structuring on that one. If someone's purely about structuring and building wealth for themselves, I tend to send them on to other people now. So that's the way I've been able to compromise or meet an agreement with myself. So someone who's like that and saying, I want to be a life coach or do that, they might go, okay, so what is my skills today that can make me money? Okay, is there a way I could maybe cut this down to 3 days a week and just do it 3 days a week, and then I'll put 2 days a week into doing the other stuff I like, and then work on that, and then find a way to make that profitable, and just be patient, and then get a mentor to guide you through it, So you can do anything you want. You've just got to be truthful about your stage of consciousness. Like, don't walk around saying, I'm this life coach, I've got faith, I'll be looked after. If deep down you're shitting yourself, you've got a husband or wife who's going to lose the plot because the mortgage isn't being paid and the kids' school fees aren't being met. You just got to work with what you've got. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And if it really upsets you, and then take the brave step and walk away, if you're strong enough to do it. If you've got a mindset like Trump, where you just believe in what you're doing,
Yeah.
Does that all make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And, as you say, the faith of Yeshua, you can move mountains with, literally. So,
Absolutely.
that's a consciousness journey. And that is, what we're all, let's just say, on the journey to becoming as a race. And the deep beats are changing to this outcome by 2050, let's say. And, the big almighty God, Father, Creator, sausage roll and chips, whatever you want to call them. I don't really have a word, but you can feel what it is that your higher level that you subscribe to. There is a plan. There is a place, and I think that we can change our alternate realities as we travel through this big shift and change. And I think, like you've said, you've summed it up in some beautiful, beautiful wisdom chunks there that I know this audience is going to love. So, Warren, thank you so much. Just a further question: if people are listening to what you're saying and want to go, hey, I want to get a bit closer to Warren, I want to understand what he's all about, where do they go?
Well, I'll get my OnlyFans page up. No, I'm joking. Matt, yeah, my OnlyFans page. You can subscribe to me, and
Where?
basically, it depends on what they want. So I've got the thing called the Global Wealth Club. It's always a good starting point. So I don't know if I can share screen, but the Global Wealth Club is www.globalwealthclub.com.
Yep.
There's a free members area there where you can become a member, and we've got some really good free education in there. So you can kind of try me before you buy me, and like you can watch the stuff and learn about everything from the coming economic crash, learning about financial abundance, the laws of wealth, how to protect your assets, about how to deal with taxes, the laws of the common law and the straw man and your sovereignty, and things like that, and even about the Bible. So there's that one there, and then you can see our various programs like You Ignite, our Financial Plan B, or Accelerate It Along, and things like that. But start with the free members site, and then you also get notified of our regular podcast, and we're always doing podcasts on sovereignty, on wealth and education, and laws of wealth, and things like that. The other one too is if you're really more on the quantum spiritual only, or if you want to kind of get a double whammy of me, you can't get enough of me. If you go to the Awakening Within, www.theawakeningwithin.net, so it is a .net. There's also a free membership site there which covers things about manifesting money, clearing money blocks, laws of wealth around that, even stuff about the cities which we got there. There's some courses you can even buy where about the cities and how to manifest money, more advanced kind of stuff. So yeah, I would just say they just go to those ones. Start with the Global Wealth Club if you're more on the financial kind of, general sovereignty side. But if you're more really like, I'm really hungry about the spiritual side, then probably go along to the Awakening Within and have a look at that. I would suggest just, so choose which one of that, or you just go and do both, and then you'll kind of, decide which one works for you.
Awesome. Warren, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on our Quantum Achievers and also meeting you the other day in person. And I loved everything you've had to say, and can't wait till we get you back on to go even deeper and further
Mate.
and extract more out of that incredible brain of yours. And you also, the depth of which, the breadth of which your consciousness is operating at. It's a rare combination where you can apply that type of frequency amongst financial grounded information and also spiritual.
I love doing a podcast with you. I will gate crash your podcast if you don't get me on again soon.
You won't have the gate crash, mate. The gate will be open. There won't be Bill Gates. But thanks again, mate, and I will have you on soon. Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot.